The recording began with the sound of static, then the voice of the Karth Dominion's envoy, slow, sibilant, and dripping with arrogance. To the inhabitants of the Terran colonies, it hissed, "You exist by the Dominion's tolerance. Your worlds prosper in our shadow. This cycle, tribute is due, ore, fuel, and bodies for service. Refuse, and your systems will burn." The message had been broadcast across a dozen human colonies, small frontier worlds, mining stations, and trade hubs stretching along the rim. The Karth Dominion, a coalition of reptilian war clans, had long been the local power. They'd crushed smaller species, demanded offerings, and enslaved billions. Humanity, newcomers to the galactic stage, had been tolerated, watched, dismissed, occasionally taxed. But this time, the Karth had overstepped. When the humans of Vega Reach refused tribute, the Karth didn't negotiate. They made an example. The Dominion's fleet arrived over the colony without warning. 30 ships darkened the skies. Their bombardment began at dawn. Energy lances cutting through atmosphere, burning through cities and farms. Children ran for bunkers that didn't exist. The militia fought with railguns and stubborn courage, but courage is useless against orbiting warships. When the smoke cleared, Vega Reach was ashen glass. Only one message escaped the slaughter, relayed through a fragmentary network by a dying comm officer on the orbital relay. "They want tribute. Tell Earth they'll have their answer." The mockery of the Dominion weeks passed. No reply came from Earth. The Karth took this as submission. In the council chambers aboard their capital world, the high strategos of the Dominion raised his crested head and laughed. "The mammals are silent. Their spine breaks easily. They will pay the next tribute, double." Across the Dominion, laughter rippled through command decks and garrison halls. They mocked humanity openly now. Human envoys were jeered in port stations. Trade routes were seized as compensation. Colonists were enslaved under the banner of corrective measures. The Karth believed Earth was what they'd always thought, a primitive backwater, clinging to outdated ideals of morality and restraint. To them, humanity was a soft species, too fragmented, too emotional, too new to the galactic order. When a few Karth ships intercepted a human freighter convoy near Arcturus, they destroyed the civilian vessels on live transmission. They even broadcast it on public frequencies with commentary. "Perhaps now," one Karth captain purred, "they'll learn who rules this region." The Dominion celebrated. Their soldiers drank fermented blood. Their citizens cheered as holoscreens replayed the burning of Vega Reach. They didn't know that, in a quiet orbit around Earth, a black fleet was awakening. The silence before the storm. No one heard from humanity for a month, then 2, then 3. The Dominion grew bolder, dispatching more fleets to human space, confident that no retaliation would come. But the humans had stopped broadcasting. Their colonies went dark. Merchant signals ceased. Civilian traffic vanished from the lanes. The silence was unnerving, but arrogance blinds the mighty. One Dominion warlord, Admiral Scar, laughed when a junior officer suggested caution. Caution? Against who? A species that still uses ballistic weaponry? They'll kneel, as all do. But deep within Sol's system, in the orbital shipyards around Titan and Luna, something vast was moving. The black hulls of dreadnoughts shimmered in shadow. Engines were tested in silence. The Human Defense Pact, long dormant, had been reactivated. Every shipyard, every drone forge, every orbital facility hummed with purpose. The Terran Vanguard fleet was being assembled, not for defense, but for vengeance. The Terran Council met in closed session. No diplomats, no press. Only military and strategic command. They demanded tribute, Admiral Hayes said, her voice cold. They'll receive tribute, in mass and fire. No one disagreed. By the time the Dominion realized something was wrong, their sensor posts along the border were already gone. Quietly, efficiently, without distress calls. And still, Earth said nothing. The turning point, it began in the darkest stretch of space. The Epsilon Rift. A Dominion patrol fleet vanished without a trace. Then another. Then an entire outpost ceased transmissions. When scouts were sent, they found wreckage. Not debris scattered by battle, but ships surgically dismantled. Engines melted. Bridges vaporized. No survivors. And one other thing. Human transmission codes burned into the drifting hulls. 4 simple words. In Terran Standard. Tribute acknowledged. Response pending. The galaxy watched. Rumors spread. Of fleets moving in the dark, of human dreadnoughts blacker than void, of soldiers who didn't take prisoners. Dominion Command dismissed it as panic, until the silence arrived. For 3 days, every Karth communications band, civilian and military, was hijacked. No transmissions went through. No sensors worked. Satellites blinked offline. Then, as their networks came alive again, every screen displayed the same image. Earth, blue and bright, haloed in fire, and a voice, calm, human. You came to our worlds. You burned our children. You demanded tribute. Now, the tribute is paid. The wrath of Earth, they came not as diplomats, not as explorers, but as executioners. From hyperspace ruptures bloomed fleets, sleek, black, unmarked, save for one symbol on their hulls, a white circle crossed by a single blood-red line. The insignia of the Terran Retribution. Command, the first system to fall was Krathul. Prime, the same world whose warlord had ordered the destruction of Vega. Reach, they saw the sky tear. Open, dozens of Terran warships emerged, silent and vast. The lead vessel, the TNS Vengeance, was nearly 20 kilometers long, its rail batteries glowing with a terrible light. The Dominion launched their defense fleet, hundreds of ships, confident in their numerical superiority. But they were still thinking in the old ways, thinking of wars as contests of honor, of tactics, of fleet movements. Humanity didn't come to fight. They came to erase. The opening salvo cracked the system's star itself. Hyperdense kinetic shells slammed into Karth ships at near-relativistic speeds. Energy shields melted. Armor vaporized. Whole squadrons ceased to exist in seconds. The humans didn't communicate, didn't gloat, didn't negotiate. They simply advanced. Every planet that had participated in the tribute demand, every governor, every admiral, every official who'd ordered a lash or a bombardment was marked. Their coordinates were known. Their fate was written. From orbit, the humans unleashed bombardments with surgical precision, melting fortresses while leaving civilian shelters untouched. They didn't need to massacre indiscriminately. They wanted their message understood. We can destroy you completely, but we choose what burns. On Karthal Prime, survivors watched from shattered towers as Terran drop pods descended through the firestorms. The pods opened to reveal soldiers in dark armor, eyes glowing with augmented light. They moved like ghosts, efficient and silent. One Dominion general tried to surrender. The human commander only looked at him and said softly, "Surrender was an option before Vega Reach." The general's citadel was leveled. Within a week, the Dominion's core fleets were annihilated. Their shipyards turned to slag. Their homeworld ringed with Terran ships like silent judges. No demands, no treaties, no mercy. The end of Dominion. When the Terran fleets finally halted, the Karth Dominion no longer existed as a state. Its ruling caste was dead or captured. Its fleets were space dust. Its colonies freed by human marines and given to their own people's governance. Humanity didn't stay to rule. They didn't colonize. They didn't take resources. They simply left. All that remained were wrecked worlds, drifting hulks, and silence. The last transmission from the TNS Vengeance before it vanished into hyperspace was brief. Retribution complete. Tribute delivered. The galactic community reeled. For centuries, the Karth had been the power no one challenged, and now they were gone, wiped from maps in a matter of weeks. No one understood how humanity had built such a force in secret, how they'd hidden those massive fleets, those weapons that bent light, those soldiers whose armor whispered across comms like thunder. But every species understood one thing clearly. Earth's silence had not been fear. It had been preparation. The legend that followed in the cycles that followed, whispers spread through the stars. Spacefarers told stories in hushed tones of the black fleets of Earth that appear from nowhere and vanish without trace, of the iron ghosts, soldiers who walk unharmed through fire. In border cantinas, Dominion refugees told the same story again and again. "We demanded tribute," one survivor would say, shaking, and they paid it in warships. Even centuries later, no one dared send tribute demands to any human colony. Not pirates, not slavers, not governments. In the Galactic Concord's archives, there's an official statement filed under Earth's diplomatic record. Humanity does not seek war. But if war is brought to our people, we will not rest until it ends, and ends with us standing. The file is labeled Terran Retribution Doctrine. The aftermath in orbit above the burned world of Vega Reach. A monument stands now, built by human and alien alike, a simple tower of black metal stretching into the heavens. On it, engraved in every known galactic language, are the words, "We do not forget. We do not forgive. We do not kneel." Below, The rebuilt colony hums again with life. Children play in streets rebuilt from glassed ruins. Farmers sow fields under the light of a healed sun. But every so often, they look to the sky, where faintly on clear nights, they say you can still see the silhouettes of ships moving between stars. Silent, waiting.